Welcome to Spurs Focus, your go-to spot for daily Tottenham news, transfers, and match updates. Don't forget to support the channel by hitting that subscribe button now. Let's dive into today's top story. Harry Kane speaks out on Tottenham's Europa League glory, but shuts down talk of a return. Meanwhile, Spurs plan big January moves under Fabio Paratici's comeback. Harry Kane says he hopes Tottenham can win more trophies following last season's Europa League triumph, but he has also reiterated that he is currently not thinking about a return to North London. Last month, Spurs boss Thomas Frank made it clear he would welcome the England captain back to N17 with open arms. That prompted Kane to address his future, and in doing so, he revealed he was not only settled in Germany, but additionally, he was also open to extending his contract with Bayern Munich. Kane's current deal with Bayern is up in the summer of 2027, and there is a £54 million release clause that can be activated in January, should any English club wish to bring him back to the Premier League. However, speaking to the Daily Mail, Kane has now reaffirmed that an emotional return to Tottenham isn't currently at the forefront of his mind, even if he was delighted by the club's Europa League heroics. He said, "I'm not sure if he'll go back. I'm very happy here in Munich. It's not something I'm thinking about. It'll always be we when speaking about Spurs because I spent my whole life there. I'm a fan of them and will always watch them and see how they're getting on. They will always be a part of my life for sure, but as for now, I'm loving it here. It was great to see them win a trophy. I've got a lot of friends there with the players and staff. We know how long we waited and how close we'd come in the past, so it was big for everyone, the fans, the club and all, involved to have that feeling and get that one over the line. That's always important and hopefully they can push on and win more." Kane currently has 213 Premier League goals to his name, meaning he is just 47 goals shy of breaking Alan Shearer's all-time goal-scoring record. But even if the 32-year-old was to return to his homeland and break that record, there is no guarantee it would last as Erling Haaland is hitting the back of the net for fun. The Norwegian, who has 94 top-flight goals to his name from 104 appearances, will soon enter the Premier League's iconic 100 club, and after signing a new bumper Manchester City contract that will run until 2034, he has no intention of slowing down. Bayern frontman Kane is also arguably in the greatest form of his career, having already plundered 21 goals for club and country this season following last night's brace against Latvia. Given he's firing on all cylinders, it's extremely difficult to envisage him switching clubs with a World Cup also on the horizon. Newly appointed Tottenham sporting director Fabio Paratici has made it clear Spurs will be ready to strengthen Thomas Frank's squad in January, should the right opportunity arise. The Italian chief, who has been working for the Europa League winners on a consultancy basis, has now officially sealed his long-awaited return to N17 following a 30-month ban imposed by FIFA. Paratici will now be working alongside Johan Lange and will focus his efforts on players regarding matters such as contracts, the transfer market, plus the loans and pathways department. Speaking to the club's official YouTube channel, Paratici was asked about his priorities from the get-go. About the transfer window, "I think we are always ready to speak about players. We work every day, scouting, academy. Inside," he said, "it's our job. It's our work, maybe it's even our life, and so we are always ready. Personally, I like this job. I love football. I love this job, especially when we play every 3 days and when there is a transfer window. It's exciting to be inside of this kind of period." The interview took place alongside Lange, who will be responsible for overseeing performance, the club's scouting network and Tottenham's academy. Still, collectively, they will make decisions together. Lange added, "As Fabio said, it feels like we just ended one transfer window, but the next one is coming, which is very good. At the same time, we have over 300 colleagues here at the training ground, working all of the time, driving each department. We know it will require everything from each member of staff for us to be successful as we want to be. We have clear targets for each of the departments around the training centre, and those good processes have one focus at the end, which is to improve the performances of the men's first team on the pitch." Spurs were active throughout the summer transfer window, signing a number of players for their first team squad. The loans of Mathys Tel and Kevin Danso were turned permanent, while Luka Vuskovic also formally completed his switch from Hajduk Split. a deal which was agreed back in 2023. Young Japanese defender Kota Takai also arrived from Kawasaki Frontale, while big cash was spent on Mohamed Kudus and Javi Simons, who arrived from West Ham and RB Leipzig, respectively. Tottenham also utilised the loan M. Tottenham midfielder Yves Bissouma was stretchered off with a painful-looking injury just moments into his first game of the season on Sunday night. The 29-year-old missed the start to Spurs' season with a knee injury, but had got himself back into a position of fitness where he could be called up by Mali during this international break, joining up for their second World Cup qualifying game of the fortnight against Madagascar. Bissouma entered the fray at the Stade Modibo Keita in the 66th minute with the score 3-0 in what would eventually be a 4-1 victory for Mali. He intercepted a loose pass from a Madagascar corner only to be challenged by an opposition player as he tried to dribble away with the ball, which left him in a crumpled heap on the pitch. The Tottenham midfielder was clearly in a lot of pain and in distress, holding his left ankle and pounding the turf repeatedly with his other hand as the medical staff came on. Bissouma pulled his shirt up over his head as his teammates attempted to console him. He was unable to walk off the pitch on his own and required a stretcher to take him off. Bissouma's knee injury had scuppered the chances of a move away from N17 this summer. The former Brighton man's contract at the North London club is now approaching its final 9 months, and Spurs were looking to let him leave, with a transfer to Turkey and other Premier League sides mooted. However, nothing was forthcoming for the midfielder, who was left out of the UEFA Super Cup squad at the start of the season by his new head coach, Thomas Frank, due to repeated lateness, and then his Champions League squad for the league phase of the competition. Last month, after the window closed, the Spurs boss said, "There are no hard feelings at all. Not before, not now, not at all. Train well and everyone has an opportunity. He has just started to run outside, so he is not part of the group. But everything I've seen when I've said hello to him, and every day with the players, he seems good." Now, Bissouma looks to have another injury to deal with. If it is an ankle injury, as it potentially appeared from the footage, then the Mali international has previous with such a problem, having missed a chunk of his first season at the club with a stress fracture in his left ankle in February 2023, which required surgery. Spurs returned to Premier League action after the international break with the visit of Unai Emery's Aston Villa to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Villa finally got going before the break with a run of 4 straight victories, 2 coming in the Premier League and 2 in the Europa League. The Villains will come into the clash in N17 on Sunday, sitting 13th in the fledgling table, with Thomas Frank's side up in third with just 1 defeat under the new head coach in all competitions since the Premier League began. Due to the staggered nature now of international matches, the Spurs players will be returning to Hotspur Way on different days across the coming week, which can cause problems in terms of recovery and readiness. Although the Villa match being on Sunday does provide a bit more preparation time for all involved. Injuries in the second round of international matches could also bring further problems for Frank, and the latest players back to the Enfield training complex will be those who play on Tuesday, either in Europe or further afield. Richarlison could be involved in Brazil's friendly in Japan, which kicks off at 11:30 AM UK time on Tuesday, while later that night, João Palhinha could play for Portugal at home against Hungary, as could Pedro Porro for Spain at home against Bulgaria, and Jed Spence for England in Latvia. Destiny Udogie and Guglielmo Vicario take on Mana Solomon's Israel that night in Italy, while the latest returnee to Hotspur Way could well be Pape Matar Sarr, who faces a Senegal home World Cup qualifier against Mauritania on Tuesday night. Rodrigo Bentancur is one of the few players to be given a fortnight off from international duty, after Marcelo Bielsa named a young Uruguay squad for 2 friendlies in Asia in order to look at some new faces, which means the experienced midfielder will be one of Frank's fresher players. The Dane has another run of games after the Villa clash to take into account, with Spurs heading to Monaco for their next Champions League game on Wednesday next week, before returning to face Everton away at their new stadium the following Sunday. The Spurs head coach must juggle his side to decide who plays in which game. Here's the Tottenham team we reckon Frank will select to face Villa. 4-3-3 Vicario, Porro, Romero, Van de Ven, Udogie, Bentancur, Palhinha Xavi, Kudus, Richarlison, Odobert. Jed Spence's penitentiary is open for business again. From locking up Premier League wingers to trolling teammates, nobody is safe. Even Jed Spence's Tottenham teammates cannot escape his penitentiary. So what hope do his opponents have? The 25-year-old has enjoyed a strong start to the season under new head coach Thomas Frank, after turning his Spurs career around under Ange Postecoglou last year, when it seemed like his Premier League dreams might take longer to get going than he expected after struggles in his first couple of years at the North London club. Spence roared back though and worked his way into the Tottenham starting lineup, mostly providing another option on the left rather than his natural right-back role, and his form not only earned him his England debut last month, but on Thursday night he made his first start for Thomas Tuchel. England kept a clean sheet as they swept aside Wales with 3 goals in the opening 19 minutes, and that allowed Spence to add a very familiar name to the list of wingers he has in his penitentiary. The fullback had started to hint on social media about dispensing with the wingers he came up against in pre-season, with an image of Arsenal's Bukayo Saka after Spurs' 1-0 win in Hong Kong. Spence used a photo of the England winger on the floor in front of him, with the caption, "On to the next one." That, of course, may just have meant Tottenham's next friendly in South Korea against Newcastle, but the captions began to get clearer. After the 2-0 win at Manchester City, Spence was up against Oscar Bob and Rico Lewis down his flank, and he posted after the game at the Etihad Stadium, "Bring me your favourite winger," along with a devil's face emoji. A few weeks later, and another future England colleague got the treatment with Jared Bowen pictured, along with the first reference to Spence's winger prison after the 3-0 victory at West Ham with the caption, "Who doesn't love a derby win?" Penitentiary expanded. Even his Spurs teammates did not escape being locked up on social media. In Tottenham's 3-0 win against Doncaster Rovers in the Carabao Cup, the visitors had 19-year-old Tottenham winger Damola Ajayi on loan and playing on the right. Spence later posted an image of the teenager behind bars with the words, "I'm sorry, lil bro. Welcome to the penitentiary." To his credit, Ajayi responded to it well with a gif of Neil Warnock, a rather pivotal character from Spence's past. It was no holds barred for Spence now, and that meant Brennan Johnson got the treatment. After Thursday night's England win against Wales, Spence has begun tucking the penitentiary images at the end of his Instagram collages, and there it was, with the Spurs winger's head on a leashed dog, with the fullback holding the chain, using the Grand Theft Auto V meme. Very happy to get my first England start with a great win, but forget about all that emotional stuff for a second. You cannot escape the inevitable. Let's take a walk to the penitentiary, brother, posted Spence in the captain alongside. So who is next to be potentially locked up in the Tottenham defender's infamous penitentiary? Next up after the international break is Aston Villa, who will arrive at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium on October 19th. If Spence plays at left-back, then he will likely be up against 24-year-old Ivory Coast attacker Evan Guessand. The Corsica-born forward was signed for £30 million in the summer from Nice, and is yet to get off the mark with a goal or assist for Villa, and has mostly been playing off the right for Unai Emery's side. Spence will be hoping to prevent him from getting his landmark first goal for the visitors. Spence is likely to rotate with Destiny Udogie and even Pedro Porro on the right, with games coming every 3 days. But for the purposes of this article, we're selecting Spence as the left-back for every match and running the England international into the group. That means he would likely come up against a much-linked Spurs target in the summer window, Magnus Akliush, as the North London club travel to Monaco in the Champions League on October 22nd. The 23-year-old France international has 2 goals and 1 assist to his name in 6 League One games so far, and will present plenty of trickery and ability down the right flank for Monaco. Up next is a trip to Everton on October 26th, and potentially another Tottenham transfer target from the past 12 months in the shape of Tyler Dibbling. The 19-year-old has played on the right in the past couple of games for Everton, although David Moyes had been using Iliman Ndiaye a fair amount in the role, and the Senegal international has 3 goals and an assist from his 7 Premier League games so far, so could get the nod against the Lilywhites.